For his bloody study group, they're not worth it.
Okay, so.
Well, that was brilliant.
So, I'm going to talk to you today about Qabalah. I'm going to try. Now, yes. Qabalah is basically based on Jewish mysticism, as far as I understand it. So it's like it's what the spiritual people did years ago, and it was, I think Qabalah stands for I think it's like mouth to ear, so it was an oral tradition, and then so many thousand years ago they started writing stuff down, and they came up with this thing called the Tree of Life, which is just a way of representing it. Now, as best as I understand it, it's a way of explaining our experience of the world, and it's like a filing cabinet for experience. So there are some, and it's how do I put this? It's based on a lot of kind of symbolism, and there is some spiritual aspects to it, but I don't think you necessarily have to believe in the spiritual aspects as such, but it kind of, yeah, how do I put this? You can tell I haven't had a lot of sleep, can't you? Losing all my words now. Yeah, I suppose a filing cabinet for human experience is probably the best way, or an explanation of consciousness. Anyway, I'll start getting into it, and I'll start drawing stuff. Throw questions at me, because I've never tried to explain this to anybody. I'm still trying to get it straight in my head. So, there's a bunch of spheres. These are called Sephiroth or Sephiroth. I forget which is the plural. Have any of you guys seen this before?
No.
Familiar at all?
No.
Excellent.
So you can talk Tosh, can't you? Because we haven't got a bloody
Basically, yeah, it'll only be those guys in the video that are like, what are you talking about? Like, what's that about? Go back and tell them that's wrong. Okay, so.
Did you mean to draw a line down?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, I did, yeah, missing one, thank you.
So the interconnection.
So.
And there.
I'm there.
Where?
Who's doing this?
Yeah, there we go.
Design.
Well, because you don't connect them all up, because you don't connect these ones either, because it's all based on the Hebrew alphabet. There's 22 letters to the Hebrew alphabet, so there's one letter assigned to each one of these, and there's one to each of the paths. And so that's why, and then they argue, some say like, no, there's only one that goes up here and these two are actually here. And so we have to pick a certain one.
There used to be 26, but they snipped a bit off.
Something like that. Again, there's loads, so, because there's like, with the Hebrew alphabet, there's lots of different connotations to all the different letters, and it all matches up, and this is the stuff I'm trying to learn, and it's like, blows my mind a little bit. I'm not going to talk about the paths really today, because I don't really fully understand them. But you get each of these spheres, which is a part of experience, I guess, and then you've got the paths that connect them. And the way you tend to use this when you're trying to understand it is you start at the bottom, say, and you will you can meditate on each sphere, but you can also meditate on the paths. It's a way of like spiritual ascension, if you like, because you want to reach up here. But I'll tell you what, let me start.
What? Sorry, you said we can ask questions?
Go for it.
You've done the, why is the one in the middle dotted?
That's Jath. So this is, there's two lines here. This is called the abyss. This is the veil. So this is what they call the Supernova Triad. Supposedly, this is like the theory. This is like the spiritual world, or the world behind which what we can see.
Right.
Apparently, this is as high as you can really understand from human consciousness. Above this is kind of like exists, but we can't actually touch it. Anyway, so this one's called. This is Keter. This is the first emanation. This is like unity and oneness. This is like where everything is one. This is what the Buddhists talk about reaching, where it's like, this is just pure being. So the word here is I am. So you know when Moses heard God say, I am that I am, one interpretation is, I am that I am. So if I am, if all there is I am, there is nothing else. It's the concept of non-duality, if you guys know what that is. So the fact of duality is like, if I am me and Sharon is Sharon, then there's a separation between us. But if I am just pure being and awareness, if I can really see that I don't really exist, I am the universe, then if I can really see that, then I no longer need to do anything else, because there is no separation.
Is that sort of nirvana?
Yes, exactly, that concept. Yeah, I'm still trying to get my head around it. But when you've got 1 point and there is only 1 point, there is just oneness. There is nothing else. Then when you get to here, this is called Hokmah. This is about wisdom. This translates to wisdom. Wisdom, because again, as I understand it, when you get 2 points, well now I've got some sense of duality. Like I said, now I've got me, but now I've also got Sharon, so there's a separation. But also because it's combined in one, it's actually the unity of those two things. It's both, which I'm still trying to get my head around. Okay. And also there's this thing, the way that they talk about the mythology is like the lightning flash that comes down to create these, and it comes in a certain order. So it goes down from here, and then it goes to Hokmah, then it comes across to this one, which is called Bina.
Is that like the Holy Trinity in Catholic?
Exactly what I was
Like
about
the
to
God,
say.
the Spirit, the Holy Ghost. God the Son and the Holy Ghost.
What, the Trinity being the three are one and one?
Probably. There's different ways of, like, I know there's like the kingdom, the power and the glory are these ones I talk about. There probably is in that. I want to say probably, but I couldn't tell you yet. This one's about understanding. When you have a third point, this is also where form is like the basis for all form. Because if I've now got a third point, well now I've got time as well. Because if this point starts to move, like with you, like with me and you, Sharon, if I move, we can see there's a separation, but we don't know where we are. Right?
No.
But with Dave's there, when I start to move, it's like, oh, we've now got something to hit it against. Well, now you have form and time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of.
In the theoretical world.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So you're talking about perspective then, as well?
Yeah. So I mean, if you think if only 1 point ever exists, there is just oneness. All you know is I am, the beingness. And you've got 2, you've got separation. If you have 3, it's like now I can see as I move. It's like, oh, my perspective is changing. Yeah.
And the connections start multiplying, don't they? Well, you've not just got one connection. You've got 1, 2, 3.
That's what I mean. I can see. Like as I move, there's
different perspective.
Yeah. Okay. After this, the lightning flash then comes down here. This is called Hesed, which translates to, I forget exactly. I think it's something. It's got a bunch of stuff. It's actually mercy, but this is about majesty, and it's basically unconditional love as well. So the 4th point is actual form, or like manifest form. So if you think of 3 points as like the beginning of form, because you can draw a triangle, but the 4th point, it's like, oh, now we can make it in the real ways. Now it's 3-dimensional. So it's the first emanation of form. This is associated with love and expanse, basically growth, if that makes sense. So the astrological correspondence is Jupiter. So Jupiter is known, if you think Jupiter's a massive planet, it's known with growth and love and greatness and more, essentially. What else about that? If that gets too much, we get into gluttony and greed and things like that, because it's just too much. You know, that's if you think of the physical world, physical health, this is where too much of something, like we can say, is cancerous, right?
Is it moderation? It's going for moderation.
Moderation is more this bit. It's the
Okay.
balance of those two. But it's like if you think of unconditional love, it's that, you know, I love everything, right? There's that sense. But that sense of expanse, as we say, is a good thing. It's growth, but too much growth, it becomes too much. Again, that's what there's. The thing is with these is they're pockets of either experience or I forget the word, but there's lots of different ways of perspective of kind of analysing them. So you could take it like in terms of the human body or in a different context, and that's why there's lots of what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, there can be lots of facets of it, and that's what I'm still trying to get my head around. Anyway, then we come across here to this is Gavura, and this is really about limits. It's about limiting and force. So this is the astrological correspondence here is Mars. And Mars is all about fighty stuff and strength and fire and burning. But it's the balance of Hesed. So this thing for Hesed's all about love, growth, and everything, and Gavura goes, whoa, 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 calm down, get back in your box. Does that make sense? So this is the pillar of form, and this is the pillar of force, I think.
Does that mean you need both of them in order to function?
Boom. Yeah. Because then we get down here.
Two sides of the same coin.
Hence the book Men of Mars and Women of Venus.
Yeah.
Here we get down to Sephiroth, which is the sun. So after it goes from this growth and expanse, we go, whoa, 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 calm down, let's cut some of that and just limit some of that, put some boundaries around that. Then we come to Sephiroth, which is about the harmony. So Sephiroth is beauty, harmony, grace, peace. This is where this and kingship is associated with this. So ideally it balances these.
So did you say kinship as if
kingship
As
in being a king?
Sovereign.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it's balancing this growth and unconditional love with will and might and boundaries and that sort of stuff. Something interesting that I found in my life, for example, was I was practicing this stuff a lot, the unconditional love but I was pretty shit at this. My last relationship taught me about this. It's like you can keep loving and keep loving and keep loving, but you can eventually end up where you end up bent over backwards, and at some point you have to go.
Take back control.
Exactly, that's the strength. But it's a balance, because too much of this, and then you get cruelty or control or restriction or nothing moves, right? So yeah, the astrological correspondence here is the sun, because if you think about the sun, it's allows life basically in the light for everything. But I guess, the balance of life. And even in the old, what they call the Chaldean order of the planets, when they thought the sun was in the middle, that it went like moon, Mercury, Venus, sun. Okay. Then after that, how am I doing time, Steve?
Oh, just you've got 5 minutes.
Cool. Then we have what's this one? This one's called. This is Netzach. These are old Hebrew names, so they don't really make much sense. But this is it's called victory. It translates as victory, and I saw this described because it's to do with the victory once you've overcome the obstacles through love, or something like that. Because it's associated. It's emotions, and it's like love and unity, and it's like power and love, but not power as in destructive power. I guess it's the power of like emotions and unity that need to like move towards
The strength
something.
that gives you.
Yeah, exactly. The power of love, right? That is that kind of thing. So this is associated with that's Mars. Not Mars. With Venus. Okay. I've seen this talked about in terms of desire as well, but yeah, it's that movement towards to create unity with something, to get stuff, to make good. Then we move across there, and the balancing of here is what we call Hod. Hod's really about intellect, communication, some other stuff. This is Mercury. So Mercury's Hermes. So Hermes was like the god of like medicine. He was the tricksters and lies.
Messenger.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the left and right sides of the brain, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's it.
I'd
That's
be
about
a teacher, shouldn't I?
I said that to you.
But this is what I mean. It's like they've known about this shit for ages, and
Yeah.
now they're just, it fits into this thing. So, you've got the kind of the important thing. If you think about this is about distinction and analysis. So, this is about unity, bringing things together, but then this is about splitting it up and dividing. And if you think that's how we understand something, right? It's like take the bits, and then we can understand it, which is why this is on the pillar of 4, even though it's splitting. Because we associate with this is, I think, anyway, I won't go into that another time. You get that sense between the balance of everything. These then go into Yesod. I'll be perfectly honest, Yesod is the one that I really don't understand so well. This is associated with the moon. A lot of the stuff talks about the psychic experience. It talks about here's associated with like the animal drives and also the subconscious. But Yesod actually means foundation, and they talk about it as foundation of. It's like the foundation for the material world. But again, a lot of the stuff I've read so far, it talks about stuff I haven't really got a psychological equivalent for yet.
Isn't that sort of kind of explains why people like different things? So because it's fundamental, like some people like Northern Soul and some people don't. Some people like the colour blue and some people don't. There's no explanation for it. There's no emotion about it. It just is.
Yeah. So this then feeds into, this is Malkuth, which is the final one. So this is kingdom, basically. This is the manifest world. This is what we physically experience. This is what we see. And traditionally, this is what, if you guys know the traditional elements like fire, earth, water, that's how they used to explain the world. Everything had either a fiery quality or an earthy quality, an airy quality. So air is intellect, water is like the emotions generally. Fire is about the will, and then earth is Malkuth. That's the tree of life basically. And so so what you would do in kind of what you're supposed to do as I understand in terms of studying this is you work your way up the tree. So you start here and you study and you meditate on this, and then you can take different paths. And this is where at some point the occultists and magicians got hold of this, and they went, forget the tarot cards. The tarot cards fit nicely onto these paths. So you can kind of meditate on a path and meditate on these. And the idea is that you move up the tree so that you eventually attain enlightenment.
Bliss, is it bliss or enlightenment?
Well, I guess, or as what I read once in a few books, they say the idea of studying any of this stuff is to increase. What is it? It's something like you want to get more in communication with what they call your holy guardian angel, which is basically your higher self, which supposedly lives here in Sephiroth. So it's like I can connect with this, and really so that I can reach this oneness with God or the divine or whatever, or with the universe.
I must be at that second level because I've often been referred to as Yesod.
We were punning about that yesterday.
Yeah, is that where sort of came from? What you've done is explain. I know you can't take years, right?
It's going to take me years for me to fully understand it myself.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a big, deep subject. You often see that Jewish people spend a lot of time, men, go and they have the books or the whatever. I now see why you would dedicate your life to it. Even when you're grey-bearded and old, you haven't cracked it really. You're further up the scale of understanding. But I kind of get now why they're so studious and all that. Yeah. Because that's a big thing.
Isn't it curious, don't you think, that that's a version of the story, and other religions have similar versions of
There's
it?
so many
Yeah,
similarities.
but which then, if you sort of look at all the different religions, even some martial arts have that kind of story behind them. I think Aikido in particular is about, and Bushido was the samurai thing. It's all about the same thing, about following a path through those stepping stones, which leads on to the idea of, the whole thing is designed. It wasn't just, the universe is not an accident. It was designed by somebody because it keeps being repeated.
Well, my love of this system, as I'm learning, is that when, or at least this, not in the traditional Jewish system, but in the what they call the Hermetic Qabalah, basically where the magicians got hold of it, and they try and incorporate all the. They'll take all of the religions and stuff and try and explain how it fits into this. So rather than it just being dogmatic, it's that's why I say it's more like a filing cabinet. So
What are the bottom three again? Sorry, excuse me.
these three. This is
Kingdom.
Malkuth's kingdom. This is Yesod, which is the foundation.
And
This is Hod, the intellect, and this is Netzach.
Six power and kingdom.
Yeah, power. The power.
Christianity.
What's the power? Power kingdom. The kingdom. I think it is.
So the middle three, isn't it?
Glory,
Yeah,
yeah.
the middle
Glory.
three.
Yeah.
Glory. I mean, that's actually in. Is it Protestant?
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. That's since studying this and started looking at some of the biblical stuff. There's so much Qabalah and it's just it's in there, and astrology as well. There's so much. They tried to cut out all the astrology whenever it was, but if you understand how to read it, which I don't fully yet, you can see it. It's still in there. If you can read it. Any other questions?
No, it's very interesting. Very
That was really good.
Thanks, guys.
You sound surprised.
Well, yeah. David, isn't it? What you
Talking about some weird shit.
I can imagine though. It's very intense learning it.
Oh yeah, that sounds. I'll do a talk on that, and then realise I had to go through an entire book again yesterday to be able to.
Where does rugby fit into all this?
Here.
It's kind of rugby-shaped ball, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing. That's an interesting question because the playing of rugby would be here, right? But your desire and drive to play rugby would be here. But you thinking about the different plays would be here. But then possibly, your real purpose of playing rugby, you could argue, would be here. Your love for your teammates would be here. the drive to kind
What about the hatred of the Welsh? Where does that fit in?
somewhere between here and here. An imbalance of these two, right? Because there's probably some envy there and some hate there.
That was fantastic. Thank you.
Really,
Thanks, guys.
brilliant.
Well done.
Right, next.